Well, hey, this is Rhonda Simmons, the founder and CEO of the Simmons Empowerment Foundation. And welcome to another edition of Empowered Heart to Heart. I am so excited. You knew that's where I was going. Every episode, I say the same thing. That is because I am thrilled that I have met some of the best people this side of heaven and have had the honor of interviewing them on my podcast. I am excited about that. By the way, did you know our podcast has gone global? We have been downloaded in about a dozen different countries other than the United States. And I'm like, woohoo, that is so great. Super duper excited about that. So I encourage you, if you are watching us on our YouTube channel, make sure that you like, comment, and share this video, and especially subscribe so that you'll know every time I upload a video, because it's happening every week. I've got new content, new things to get out to you, new messages of hope and conversations that heal and interviews that empower. And you don't want to miss a thing. No, you don't. No, you don't. And also make sure you connect with us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, all with the same handle, and that is TSEFIORG, all one word, even though that's not really a word. It's the English teacher in me. But we're so excited. Make sure you connect with us, bookmark this um, podcast on whichever platform you're listening, because things are happening. I've been working most of the day on some exciting things, but I'll tell you about that later. I've got to bring into the studio my very special guest. And this is not just anyone, but I'm going to tell you a secret about our guest and how we are connected. So you've got to stay tuned, because that secret is coming and she's got so much to contribute. And again, I've met wonderful people. And today, I'd like to introduce to you none other than Miss Tracie Root, who is the founder of the Gather community. Sorry, let me get this right. The Gather community. Hello, Tracie.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, round of applause. I love that. Hi, Rhonda. Great to be here.
Yes, great to have you on the show. I'm so glad that you're here. And so you have so many things going on, and I love staying connected with people who have a mission and they're doing something constructive, not only for themselves, but for someone. So, Tracie, tell us all about you and what you're doing as far as helping others and empowering women.
Fabulous. Well, yes, I love that's my mission as well. Let's empower all the women. The future is female, right? My name is Tracie Root. I live in Santa Cruz, California. I am California born and raised mostly. And I, grew up in the Silicon Valley, where it mattered how you planned your future. And what did I think my future was? Go to college, get good grades, get a good job, tap on that glass ceiling, right? This was the 80s, 90s. There wasn't crashing through the glass ceiling yet, but we were tapping on it.
Right.
And, when I was working in corporate, I really thought I had to show up in a certain way at work to be successful and to be accepted and to progress in my career and get promoted and all of those things. And at one point I told myself that I was putting on a show. I am a former dancer, performer, whatever, musician. And I used to equate what I was doing at work was putting on a performance of the Tracie that they wanted me to be at work. Professional, respectful, not that we don't want to be respectful and professional anyway, but what did it really mean? It meant quiet. It meant smaller than my natural tendency. And so ever since I've left corporate and kind of came into my own as an entrepreneur, as a coach and speaker and author, I decided that the way I'm going to help women to get past those barriers is to help them to be bold in their life and their business. And so that is what I am here to do.
I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. I knew we made a power connection.
Right.
because I'm all about being bold and thinking outside of the box and doing outside of the box,
Yeah.
because it's easy to make those bold plans, but to actually execute them, that's on a whole nother level. And so
Yeah.
I am super glad that you're here. So tell us about this Gather community. What's that all about?
Yeah. So the Gather community is a community of women, and we are helping each other to thrive. And this is a little bit of backstory. I, back pre-COVID, I opened an in-person event space. It was something that as someone who has interior design and project management in their background and in their education and history, I said, well, I'm having a hard time finding places to book to be able to hold events, and I wanted to do vision board workshops and to have networking opportunities and all of those things. I was having a hard time finding a place here in our town. We've got about 55,000 people in Santa Cruz, 100,000 maybe in the surrounding communities, but a lot of small business and therefore not a lot of big space, and definitely not anything that was affordable and nice. We kind of had to pick between the two. So I said, well, you know what? I know how to take a raw space and make it fantastic. So I rented a space, and that's what we did. We opened in October of 2019. And of
Wow.
course, everyone knows what happens next, right? 5
Yeah.
months later, we had to close the doors and turn off the lights and wait to see what was to come. We thought it would just be a couple of weeks, right? I kind of
Right.
actually was kind of glad for the break because we were very busy and I was pretty exhausted. I was looking to hire people right at that time and everything, um, for support because I was running everything all on my own. And, within a couple of weeks, we all realized that we weren't going back in person anytime soon. This is something that we can all relate to. So I took the model of how we were functioning in person, which was rent the room and I will support your event with promotion, with getting people in the room, with advertising, making the room a lovely, hospitable place. We had great coffee. We had, it was nice decor, all that stuff. And we said, well, if we can't meet in person in a room, how can I do all those things for everyone who's now trying to move their things online? I
Mhm.
was an early adopter of Zoom, so I was well versed in how to make online events happen, but not everyone around me could say the same. So I said, well, I'm going to create a membership. And as a member, I'm going to give you visibility opportunities. I'm going to promote you. I'm going to bring people into your Zoom room, and we're going to spread the word about what you're teaching so that you can be successful while we navigate this crazy time. And honestly, it just kept evolving over the last 3 years to figure out what it even was going to become. It changed from the beginning till now a little bit, but in a great way to recognize that, what we wanted to build was community. And now the good part is we're no longer constrained by geography, right? We have
Yeah.
members across the US and into Canada. Time zones are a thing. So that's a good kind of formation of locations. And instead of worrying about how we're going to book the next in-person thing and flip the room and do the laundry and clean the floors and all the things you have to do with the in-person space, we can do it all over the country and into Canada all day long, any day of the week, without having to worry about those logistics and reach way more people, because we never were going to reach people all across the country in a little 1,000 square feet in Santa Cruz. So it's been wonderful. The membership has evolved over these last years, and the vision for the next several years from now is, honestly, when I think about the big picture, I'm like, wow, that's going to be huge. And when I chunk it down to what I'm working on right now, totally doable. And I'm really excited about how we're moving forward and how we're growing the community for women in business.
I tell you, to our viewers and listeners, they may feel overwhelmed by all that you're doing, but this is what I'm hearing. You are not only a visionary, but a creator. You're
Mhm.
not following or waiting to to follow someone else's trail.
Yeah.
You are a pioneer. I know that's an old word to use, but it's so fitting. And I'm so excited here because I can so relate, of thinking outside of the box and just making it happen
Yeah.
and realizing the greater opportunities that we have in this virtual world.
Yeah.
It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's been here.
Absolutely.
It's between me and you. I would say I have a master's degree and I'm working on my doctorate. And I would say probably 95 to 98% of my educational career has been virtual.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going away. It's just here. And so I love how you're tapping into that while still maintaining your mission to empower women.
I think that was a big, that was part of that whole evolution of those first, the 3 years. In that first year, everyone's like, "Oh, I wish we could be together. Zoom is tiring, and I'm zoomed out. I'm Zoom fatigue, all that stuff." And then it was like, "Oh, I can't wait to get back in person, but we're not quite ready, so let's do it on Zoom. We're not quite
Right.
ready, so let's do it." Right? So the second year, everyone was a little more used to it, and then it was like, "Oh, let's do it in person. Oh, it got canceled. Oh, let's do this. Oh, it got canceled." Right? So we recognized that even though people were going to be moving to things in person, there was still some trepidation about physically being, people were still nervous, rightfully so. And everyone was going to kind of be on their own journey of how long that was for them. Right? Everyone had their own opinions of what was okay and what wasn't okay. I mean, I'm in California, we've had pretty tight restrictions compared to a lot of places in the country. So, we had a long time to recognize that we were still meeting people and connecting and growing and learning and thriving together, even with the not being sure about what the future holds. And now that everything is pretty much back to in-person normal, with the exception of there's less options, right? Businesses that failed during all that time and everything, which is super sad. But like there's not many people out there saying, "No, I don't want to do things in person." But the ease of reaching people outside your geography can't be denied.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
the ability for you and me to be here doing this interview, and you're in Texas and I'm in California, that can't be denied. We never would have met had it not been for everything that happened.
Absolutely not. I'm going to resist the urge of singing that song from Beauty and the Beast about it's a whole new world. So
no, that's Little Mermaid. No, wait.
Sorry.
World. Aladdin?
I don't know.
I don't know.
And I know it's one of those cartoon movies.
Yeah.
It's so relevant because things are different just, within the last few years.
Yep.
And so there are things that we have to embrace and we have to just be ready to pivot. And so I have one question, if we can go a little bit deeper. So I know you explained, that you had a corporate life prior to going out on your own. But, I've talked to clients where they want that security of corporate life and, they'll dabble. Yeah, whatever that means, that security of corporate life, and they treat their passion like a side hustle and, I'm not really going to do it. Why did you just make a clean break and say, I'm out?
Right.
What?
Well, I don't think we've talked about this, so you don't know this part of my story. So happy to share. So yeah, I was in corporate for 17 years. My degree's in interior design, and I worked in space planning and project management for corporate clients. Worked for a consulting company, which was great. Small company working for big companies. So I had that kind of entrepreneurial flavor in a lot of ways, out there working for clients, not working for my boss. So there's that history. But actually, I started coaching because I had my own personal health transformation, and I began as a health coach in I met my first husband in the 90s, 92 or something like that, and we were together for a number of years before we decided to start our family. And shortly after our first son was born, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. And so for the next 4 years, I had 2 babies, learned how to be a mom, worked other than having maternity leave, worked full time. I was the primary breadwinner, and he was going to be the stay-at-home dad. And we had some property with acres, and it was like our dreams were coming true. But of course, then he was diagnosed with cancer. So he, went through, we navigated all his treatments and his illness, and it went away and it came back, and all of those stories that with cancer are not unusual. And unfortunately, in 2010, when the kids were 1.5 and 4, Paul passed away.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And I had been working and navigating, living with this situation, 2 new babies, sick husband, dying husband, all of those things. And, when something like that happens, the grief and the trauma, it takes a while to kind of work through. And for different people, it's totally different lengths of time and how hard it hits you and all that kind of stuff. I tend to be relatively resilient. I don't know if you figured that out yet. And yeah. And so, it was probably about 1.5 years or so for me when I started to say to myself, this is not awesome. I am exhausted all the time. I have no energy. I don't really have anything to look forward to other than, I get up in the morning, I take the kids to daycare, I go to work all day, I pick them up from daycare, we go home, I put them to bed, and then I drank wine and, ate bad food, or unhealthy food, I should say. There's nothing bad. So not only had I had baby weight, but I had a lifetime of bad habits that just I wasn't paying attention. I was in survival mode. And I decided, okay, I'm going to have to do something different. And I said, well, I'll start with what I see in the mirror, which is, if I got back to kind of my happy weight or whatever, I would start to feel better. I'd have more energy, and I would maybe be able to start feeling like things were less horrible. And it's what happened. I found a health coach. I, was trying to find a way to make that happen. I found someone who would help me. And then they said, with all your success, people were asking me all day long at work, what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, so they started to teach me how to help them myself. And that was the beginning of me learning about coaching. Within a few months, doing that work for friends and family on the side, the whole side hustle factor, I started to think about what else could be done in my life that maybe would even improve my life and the kids' life even more, because we didn't have any family nearby. It really was just the 2 of them and me and a handful of, work friends and a couple of out of work friends. So my family was in Florida. And I said, well, what if I started coaching, and what would it look like for me to be able to move to Florida? Would it be coaching? Would I start some other business? Would I work for someone else? And just started the wheels turning of what could be done to achieve this goal of moving to Florida, where I could live by my parents and my sister and her son and stuff like that. And so it's that dreaming and then imagining how that could happen. And I realized that if I got to a certain point in my coaching business that I had just started financially, that with the difference in cost of living between where I was in California and Florida, that I almost actually was already there.
Wow.
And so by the end of the summer, I'd made the decision. And in September, I gave notice at my work. And by Thanksgiving, I had left that job. And before Christmas, we had moved to Florida and rented a house twice the size at half the price.
Wow.
And lived right down the street from my parents, and got a chance to kind of recreate what our life was going to look like, because I was able to think to myself, what do I want? And what would that possibly look like for me? What's possible?
Wow. What is so amazing, Tracie, about your story is that it took that one victory of reinventing yourself health wise
Mm-hmm.
to be the catalyst for what else can I do?
Yep.
What else can I conquer? What else can I create? It just opened up your mind to a whole bunch of possibilities, and that is so powerful because in my coaching practice, we talk a lot about visualization.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a verse that says, "Without a vision, the people perish." And if we don't have that vision, then what are we doing? We're marking time, wasting time,
Yep.
living a life on rinse and repeat. When
Exactly.
you can't have goals without vision. Well, you
Right.
can, but you'll be spinning your wheels. And
Yeah.
so what is disappointing, and I love how you began to see something different for yourself and your children
Yeah.
and your family. That is fantastic.
Thank
That is
you.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So what has been like one of the highlights of your business that you're the most proudest of?
Well, definitely open and gather was, huge because, and the reason why was not so much even that it existed, but that I had the the vision, right? The idea came to me, and the only reason why it became a thing was because I became obsessed, right? Like I thought about it and I thought about it and I would look for um property to lease online, all in my head and on my own computer before I ever talked to anybody about it. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm kind of obsessed with this idea. And I was talking to this friend and this mentor, and I started saying it out loud. And then I said it to my business coach. And, and then just kind of the more people who maybe would be a stakeholder in the future of it, the more they heard about it, the more positive feedback I kept getting. And the belief that I could do it, even though I didn't know how, grew. Right. So there were a lot of things I had to learn. I didn't know how to rent commercial space. I didn't know about a commercial lease. I was so confused in the beginning about signing the paper and when the lease starts. But when you actually start paying money is like months later. And
Hmm.
it's like I'm doing construction in the space that I haven't paid a cent. It's so
Yeah,
strange. So, and
yeah,
zoning with the city, I mean, so many different things that were related to having a brick and mortar space. And, after going through like, oh, I didn't realize that was something I'm going to have to learn. And then you learn it and you
mhm,
take the next step. Right. And it's such a great example of what we all need to do as we're building our businesses is have that vision, take that first step. And if you don't know how to do what comes next, ask someone who knows, do some research, or just give something a shot and see how it goes. Right. It's that
absolutely.
taking a bold action, right? Whether the action is doing it yourself or asking someone else, which sometimes is even harder than doing something you don't know, right? Asking for help or maybe taking the help is even harder.
Yeah.
So, all of those things really ring true for me now that I'm teaching about helping women to be bold, which has come kind of since then, because it all comes under that umbrella, that all of the things we need to do in order to create the things that we're imagining
Mhm.
take, it doesn't have to be big, but it does have to be bold in that you've never done it before and you don't really know how it's going to turn out, but give it a shot anyway.
Oh my goodness, you are preaching to the choir, let me tell you. This entire journey, these past 3 years of starting my foundation has
I bet.
definitely been a learning experience. And I'm the type, and this may be a blessing and a curse, but before I delegate work to people,
Hmm.
I need to, excuse me, I need to know everything about whatever it is. And so I am involved in everything. And that may not be a long-term good strategy, for growth. But
Hmm.
what it has done is that I now know how to be the accountant,
Right.
to be the marketer, to be the virtual assistant.
Well, that's really common for people
Yeah.
starting a business. And like you said, people who maybe are in corporate and have, something they might call a side hustle. That's what they're learning right now with that side gig, is all of those little pieces that, how to track their money, how to do the communications, their social media, their emails, their taxes, all of those things, right? Taxes, all of those things. We have to learn those in the beginning on our own until, what I found is that the things that I need to give to other people are the things that I do that don't bring me joy or are keeping me regularly from doing the things that only I can do. Specifically, things like this, being with you. No one else can be on a podcast for me. No one else can passionately be that salesperson for me at this time. Maybe someday I'll have a staff of 5 doing sales for me. But right now, I am the salesperson. So honing those skills and making those calls is really important. But what isn't required for me to do is lining up all my email sequences so that they go to the right people. I do the writing, but I don't do the technical. And same thing with social media. I may create the brand that's part of my art background is to do some of that, but I don't do the scheduling, and I don't do the the creating the events and inviting all the people, right? Because anyone can do that given the collateral. I'm a collateral maker. They're a task doer, and it's it's much more valuable to the company. And that was another thing, is when I started referring to it as a company, it like the whole mindset changes.
Yeah.
And I think for people who have that side gig thing, right? It's for a lot of us, we start in network marketing, right? It's a business. We call it this is my business, right? But what about if you change that to the company I'm building?
Right.
It completely changes the thought process behind what you're doing next.
Absolutely. That's why my business is a foundation. And I always refer to it as the foundation.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, I'm building something to outlive me.
Yeah.
And
well, especially when you're talking about the good, philanthropic style work that you're doing, the foundation work, 100% it outlives you. You want girls to be affected 200 years from now.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want that to end with you.
No, absolutely not.
And I think we all can recognize that there's a legacy to be built regardless of where our business focuses.
Absolutely.
Because we are affecting our own children and our sisters' kids and the kids in the neighborhood. If they see us doing our thing, we have an effect on everyone that we come in contact with. And then they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends and so on. Right. We can't help but have everything that we do affect the world around us. And I always tell people, when I became a coach, I didn't know I wanted to change the world. I thought I just wanted to help some people lose some weight.
Right.
And, and I didn't equate that with world changing thing. I thought it was just a personal thing, but ultimately the personal things are what change the world.
Absolutely. I mean, like I told another client today or yesterday, think about it. Even with the weight loss program that you had, it sure looks different if your client is Bill Gates.
Yeah. You never know who you're going to reach.
Absolutely. Or the next Bill Gates, or, you never know, this person may be, in your practice and you're working with them and, they're trying to lose weight only to become, the next president of the United States.
Well, and honestly, my kid has talked about wanting to be president. So even though he's not my client, but he has seen me be in business for myself since he was 4. And do you think maybe that had an effect on him?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Now he thinks I can do anything.
Yeah.
He feels empowered. So hats off to you, definitely.
Well, I hope so. Some of these Gen Z kids, it's kind of hard to read them sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Tracie, our audience is wondering, how on earth did you and I connect? And I promised them a secret.
Yeah.
And I am so excited because Tracie is not just anybody. She is not just a guest on my podcast, even though she is a wonderful guest indeed. But Tracie will be one of our VIP speakers at our upcoming Dear Future Me Women's Empowerment International Summit. I know that's a mouthful, but you are one of our VIP speakers, and I am so
Yes,
excited.
I know, me too. You know, Rhonda, we met each other right as you were finishing putting together your summit. And I'm so glad that I made it in right as you were closing up those VIP opportunities, because I was really excited to have the chance to reach more people and to help you have a successful summit.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And the summit will be great because you're in it. And of course, we have to give people a little taste. Don't let it all out the bag right
Yeah.
now, but give us a little preview of what you're going to present at our summit. By the way, the summit is August 18th and 19th. It is 100% virtual, so there is no such thing as you cannot participate and be involved. So if you're listening or watching, somewhere around this video or in the podcast description will be a link to register for the summit. And there are VIP passes that you can get. And here's the thing, the VIP pass is where all the magic happens. That's where you can actually meet Tracie in our private Facebook group and have discussions with her about how you too can be bold and just make, as I call it, you can just bust a move. And so
I love
yes,
that.
so you definitely want to be in the room. You deserve to be in the room. So make sure you're there. Click the link below or around this video. So Tracie, for the next, 1 or 2 minutes, tell us a preview of what you're going to share during the summit.
Yeah. Great. Well, we've touched on some of it already. I help women to be bold in their business and in their life. And, so it really depends on what bold means for you. If you were to say, oh, I want to be more bold, what would that look like? Would it be that you want to speak like me right now? Did it be that you want to be able to, say your truth, maybe in a situation that you felt like you can't do that before? Maybe you have a business and you want to be more visible so that you can have more success or leave corporate or whatever, those goals are. But if it's for your life, and you want to, have an impact in your community or, at your kid's school, and that requires you being able to kind of raise your hand and speak your truth, then, you're going to want to pay attention to what I think is a great 4-part framework for being bold in your life and business. I mean, you heard me say I grew up in Silicon Valley. I live here in California. So I make a lot of things out of acronyms because it's easy to remember what I'm talking about. And it's only 4 letters, BOLD. And so, it starts where you are and it takes you to moving forward. And so we're going to talk about what those 4 letters stand for. I'll give you a hint. It requires you to have a real good picture of where you are now and where you want to go. And then we're going to talk about how to get you there, what might be holding you back, and give you an opportunity to think about what it is you want to create in your life or in your business so that you can have the impact on your clients or your community that you are imagining. That's what I want for you, so that you can have that impact, whether it's on women in business or your family or wherever that impact is for you. I want you to be able to have that because the dream is inside you for a reason. You are worthy of those dreams that you dream, and the world is waiting for you to show up. So definitely let's get started.
Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, that summit is going to be fire. Let me tell
Fire.
you, because Tracie is bringing the heat. She is ready, and I am so ready to learn from her. By the way, this is another reason why you want to get the VIP pass, is because Tracie is offering a free giveaway to attendees who purchase the VIP pass. And so you want to be in the room and you want to get the VIP pass because you don't want to miss the excellent, excellent content that Tracie is going to be putting out through her digital giveaway and through her presentation that day. It's going to be awesome. And so you don't want to miss a thing. So make sure you click the website below and get your ticket because they're going. Things are happening, things are moving. We're getting ready. August 18th and 19th, Tracie Root will be in the room. Woohoo! Tracie, thank you so much for being with us today. And the summit, like I said, will be great because you're in it. And I
Oh, thank
appreciate your
you.
time and your efforts and your passion to make a difference. And not just keeping it all to yourself, but you're trying to help somebody. And that's really powerful. And thank you so much for being with us today.
It's my honor and my pleasure. Thank you so much, Rhonda.
Thank you. If you'll just hang out just for a moment, I'll just say goodbye to our audience, and I'll get right with you in a minute, okay?
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, you want to be in the room. You know you don't have anything to do August 18th and the 19th. You know you don't plan that far out. Bless your heart. You want to be in the room. This is the summit of all summits for the summer. This is Dear Future Me. Let me just explain something to you. The name of my coaching practice is called Dear Future Me, the coaching program. And it is the service arm of my foundation, the Simmons Empowerment Foundation Incorporated. And the reason why I named it Dear Future Me is because I don't want to be stuck here right now. This can't be all there is. And so I'm constantly thinking, how can I improve? How can I be better 3 months from now? What can I do to change my outcomes? Today may not look so great, but 3 months from now, I can be sitting on top of the world. And how can I make that happen? And like Tracie said, sometimes you just have to be bold. You have to bust a move, and it's time. You want to be in the room at our Dear Future Me Women's Empowerment International Summit. We have speakers from all over the United States and all over the world. I've got speakers lined up from Slovenia, from Canada, from Barbados and Costa Rica. You want to be in the room, and everyone is there, will be there for one purpose, and that is to empower you. You don't want to miss this opportunity. Now's your chance. Get in the room. And I'll just tell you before you even click on the link below, the VIP pass is only $49. For $49, you are getting thousands of dollars worth of content. So you're not wasting money. In fact, you're making an investment in you, because you will not walk away from this summit without being impacted by Tracie or any of the other speakers I have lined up. You will be impacted. And not only so, but you will be called to action, because hearing great content, hearing great instruction and wisdom and things to empower you, hearing it is great. But it's time now for you to do something. What are you going to do? Are you going to keep rinsing and repeating your life day after day? Or are you going to click the link below and register to attend the Dear Future Me Women's Empowerment International Summit? I think you're going to click the button. You can do that. I'll see you August the 18th and 19th. And in the meantime, I want you to be blessed, be encouraged, but most of all, be empowered until our next episode, because we're on every week, every single week. I'm dropping new content for you. There are things coming down the pike you don't want to miss. So make sure you're tuning in and you're listening every week. We're even on the radio. Woohoo! Who knew? Woo! Yes, we are. We're on the radio too. KRGN 98.5. You want to be tuned in the room by any means necessary. So until the next time, be empowered.